Em, can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast. Well, you need to get rid of a whole heap of people at once. The best way is to get them all together in a room and whittle them down.
That's the opposite. No.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name is Emma and I'm a radio journalist who's teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah is a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're excited to give you all the tips, tricks and behind the scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey, Em, and welcome back our wonderful Interview Boss listeners. Who are we giving a shoot your shot shout out to this week?
To Sophie, who bought us 2 coffees. She said, "Dear Emma and Sarah, thank you so much for putting this podcast out into the world. I've been unhappy in my job for quite a while, but was able to keep my role and move down to Melbourne from Brisbane 4 months ago, which was great for job security, but I was still ready for a change. After going on a job applying rampage, the rejection emails started flowing in, and it was a humbling experience to say the least, as all my previous roles I'd gotten in Brisbane were through making connections and my network. But now being in Melbourne, I felt like a small fish in a much bigger pond with no way to get my foot in the door. I finally got a video screening call, which went well, and then only had a few days to prepare before an in-person interview. I was very nervous leading up to it, as I hadn't been for an interview in 2 years and felt very out of practice. Luckily, I went to a wine bar with a friend who recommended your podcast."
Oh, that's a good friend.
Isn't she? I love imagining this, that 2 besties are going out for drinks over a Pinot Grigio and they're like recommending us. That's just insane.
I thought about this when this one came in. I was like, imagine that right now somebody's in a bar somewhere talking about us. We're getting a little recommendation right now somewhere in the world. How cool is that?
It's very wholesome, especially because I'm constantly recommending podcasts to everyone I know. So love that. It's coming back. But back to Sophie. Her bestie recommended us. Thank you, bestie. I binge listened to your interview episodes, which helped me so much with my prep and helped me focus on my best bits. I walked out of the first interview feeling like I nailed it and got the call the next day to say that I'd progressed to the second and final interview. Here we go again. After listening to you ladies some more and even having you in my ears right up until I walked in the door, I also felt confident coming out of the second interview and am so happy to share that I got the role. It's a pay increase and at a company that I think will really align with my values. I start next month. Thank you so much and keep putting out this fantastic, practical and helpful content."
Oh,
Thank you, Sophie. We will.
fantastic, practical and helpful. That's like a review that we should whack on the website or something. I love that.
We should.
This is so wholesome from Sophie. And also, can we just I hope she took a moment to reflect on the fact that, hey, it was humbling. She had no network. She's been, what did she call it? A job applying rampage. The first interview she gets an offer. Wow. That is massive. You should be so proud of yourself, Sophie.
So proud. And I will say it's because of that best bit prep that would have been a game changer.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing with interviews. Even if you were really good 2 years ago, you're just going to be rusty because it's been a while. And you've got new stories, you have to re-go through and get some new best bits from the last 2 years. So I love the idea when people say, "Oh, you helped me get my last job," and then now they're back. Like, if that's you and you're listening right now, like, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. You graduated once. You can graduate again. If you have an interview coming up and you need a little bit more help, maybe you're really stuck coming up with your best bits, maybe you don't know how to structure them, maybe your tell me about yourself is just not working, maybe you need a bit more help than what we can do in a podcast and you need a bit more guidance, check out our support at interviewboss.com.au/coaching. I do one-on-one sessions with people, but we also have an interview academy. So if you need worksheets, videos, bingeable content, plenty of brainstorming ideas, step by step, go and check that out. It will really, really help you break it down.
Get on it. Now, if you liked one of our episodes, used a tip we sent you, or would like to request an episode on your situation, kindly give us a follow on Instagram and then slide into our DMs, and we could pick you to dedicate an episode to, which is actually what's happened in this episode. 2 listeners requested this.
That's right.
So we bumped it to the top of the list.
And it's one of those things where we might get one person ask the question and we've added it to the list, but then somebody else asks and we're like, ooh, and somebody else asks and we're like, okay, this is clearly really necessary. People are having this situation. So today's episode is all about assessment centres. Now, disclaimer, we have actually already done an episode on assessment centres, but it's called How to Stand Out in a Group Interview, I think, because we call them group interviews, because I figured assessment centre was maybe a bit of an Australian phrasing and group interview was maybe a bit more inclusive. But I listened back to it. Have you listened back to some of our episodes? It's like episode 34 or something. It's in our first ever season. And I cringed a little bit. If you're going back through our episodes.
Was it bad?
No, it wasn't bad. It's just we've come so far.
Hang on, our advice still stands. Are you just talking about editing and our voices?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's just funny because the editing is the long pauses between us saying stuff is all still in there and there's little bits of silence. We and ah, we didn't have anyone to kind of help us take those out. We did the dating comparison. This is back in those early days before you started teasing me for doing the dating comparison with jobs. And you said it's like The Bachelor, but for going for a job.
Oh.
You've got all these people at a group interview and it's like a group date.
Who gets the rose?
Yeah, who gets the roses? And I thought that was quite funny. And the other thing is I've had even more experience delivering assessment centres and group interviews since we made that episode, because that was quite a few years ago now. And I think the focus was probably more back then on a group interview for less professional level roles. It's still relevant, I think, for grads and stuff.
I feel like in my mind it was retail or,
We touched on a lot of that stuff. So if you're looking at more a grad role, internships, those kinds of assessment centres, a lot of the same advice applies, but we thought it's worth a refresh. And we had 2 questions about it. So Em, tell us about who asked us some questions and then we'll get into an updated ep.
Abigail said, "Hey, Emma and Sarah, I'm relatively new to listening to your podcast, but have absolutely loved it. I ended up listening to a good handful of episodes each day. I would love to hear an episode about graduate recruitment, please. I did my Bachelor of Science a little while ago and have some graduate experience, but am now completing a postgrad Masters of Science and would love to hear your views on graduate schemes, programs, applications, etc., and how to stand out in assessment centres, please. Thank you for your amazing advice." And then Ollie backed it in and said, "Hello, do you have any episodes on assessment centres? I've looked but can't find any." So Ollie and Abigail, we're here to answer your prayers.
And we already sent them our group interview episode, but then I was like, it's probably worth a refresh. And then I listened to it and was like, yeah, we're doing it again. This is going to be more grad focused. It's going to be a little bit more professional focused. If you're going for a group interview for something else, still go and listen to the other one. Some of the things will be the same, but we've got some updated advice. So I really like covering this because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about why is this a thing? So I'm going to test you, see if you can remember from last time. Why do we do assessment centres, group interviews? Why are we doing that? Why are they putting candidates through this?
To mass cull.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's really what I would say. Expand.
Well, you need to get rid of a whole heap of people at once. The best way is to get them all together in a room and whittle them down.
That's the opposite. No, absolutely not. I'm going to disagree. It's to mass interview. It's to meet everyone at once. The goal is not to cull. The goal is to find who you want to put forward. Like the culling is just the side effect of that.
Okay, but that's the same thing. You're just the glass half full version and I'm the glass half empty version.
No, it's because I think it is different, and hear me out. They normally use assessment centres for things like grad programs because nobody has any experience. And so, like, what are you going to ask them about? What are you going to do? Like, how do you assess, okay, 2 people have a Masters of Science, one's worked a little bit in a lab, one's worked a little bit in admin. Like, how are you going to pick who's right for that grad program? And you've got maybe 100 candidates and 20 roles or something like that. How are you going to put people through? What are you going to select based on? So it's a way to kind of go, okay, everyone who met the basic criteria or who went through kind of some other early stage, we're just going to bring them all in because we actually have no idea who we're going to move forward. We don't know because it's very hard to tell. We're just going to give you all an opportunity to demonstrate some skills in person and we'll pick based off that. And so therefore it's often used for roles where the experience kind of doesn't matter as much and potentially where like soft skills are more important. Like they're hiring for potential really because you haven't really done much yet other than your degree. And so they're going to put you in a situation and be like, how do you actually do? It's getting closer to the actual job.
Wouldn't you say typically it's done when there's like shitloads of applicants? Like they're not hauling 3 people to an assessment centre.
Yeah, but that's also because there's lots of jobs too. Like if you had one job and you had heaps of applicants, you wouldn't do an assessment centre. Like it's the multiple jobs that creates the need for an assessment centre. Does that kind of make sense? It's not just because there's lots of applicants. It's normally because there's lots of applicants, but also mostly lots of jobs as well, because it's a lot of effort and energy to go through the group interview process. But if you think about the amount of time that they're spending, let's say it's like when I've done it before, we did 3 group interviews, there's 20 in each. So you're meeting 60 people and you've spent 6 hours. You can't meet 60 people one-on-one in 6 hours. And that would mean that you would have to cull based on something if you only had 6 people that you could meet. And then what are you culling on? Because like they're all the same in terms of their resume. So yeah, all those things together means that they're such a great tool and I actually love using them for grad processes.
What do you make them do? The poor people that have to go to these and battle it out like it's the Hunger Games or something.
It's not the Hunger Games. Your attitude is like what people think is like they're all like competing against each other and it's this horrible thing. So what you might be asked to do is some icebreakers because we don't want awkward people kind of sitting there, you know, whatever.
Can you tell me what one you do so that I can judge you? What do you make people do?
I'm actually going to take you through a recent one that I have designed and I've run for the last 2 years. I can't remember. 2 years, and you'll see how I put it together. But icebreakers, definitely something that they do just to get to know everyone, what's everyone's name, whatever. Typically like a group problem solving task. It's really, really common that you'll have to work in a group and do something, do an activity together.
I have a grievance about this. Why is it always make an Eiffel Tower out of spaghetti and masking tape?
You said that last time.
Needs to get in the bin. I'm traumatised. For someone that's not even been to any assessment centres before, I've done this way too many times in high school, in like weird bonding. It just sucks.
Well, do you know what's funny is that in our last episode, we made fun of the spaghetti tower. And do you know what I make the cadets do in their first week? Not in the assessment centre because I think it's not useful for that, but in their first week in their induction, I make them build a spaghetti tower.
Oh my God, straight to jail. Why?
And so we recorded this episode before I ever did that and it's been so funny to listen back and be like, oh, I made fun of a thing that I ended up doing.
Oh my God, that's terrible. You need to think of a new one. I've done one before where you have to make a dress out of newspaper.
Yeah, that's kind of just team bonding though. That's like a useless task. Whereas this one is like the marshmallow challenge and you have one marshmallow and all this pasta and a certain amount of tape and whatever. And it's really cool because you can compare people and it's construction as well. Like I'm in the construction industry. There's a lot of parallels. It's a good activity. Anyway, I'm defending the spaghetti, but group problem solving task is something you might be asked to do. I think there's like normally always a bit of like presenting back to the whole group, like the whole room, whether it's just you or whether it's your group or whether it's whatever. Like
this is what we found and this is what we think can be improved.
Yeah, here's a big bit of paper that here's our butcher's paper that we've written some stuff on. You might get asked to do individual tasks. I've seen, and I think I even did one once, where you have to go and sit at a computer and do like a prioritization task, or you have to go and do some kind of activity, like a little thing you have to like reply to these emails and do this spreadsheet and what would you write back to this person or summarize this data or something like that. So they might be like job-related tasks that you might need to do. And then there's a potential that they could also spin off and do one-on-one interviews as part of, or like a panel interview as part of the assessment centre day. Like part of it might be you guys are doing this, you're going to do your task, and then these people are going to go for their one-on-ones and you all rotate or something like that. It could be a couple of hours, it could be a whole day. They're all very different, obviously, but just wanted to give people a bit of an idea if they have no idea what to expect.
So tell me what you're a sucker for. You run these. What do you put these poor people through?
Yeah, so I think I need to give context, and I already talked about the foreshadowing in our last episode, that was before I had this job that I have now. In the construction industry, instead of grad programs, we have cadet programs, which is really common. And it's kind of like you're still at uni, actually, but it's still very much like a grad program. So when I say cadet, just insert the word grad. It's basically the same thing. But they do it in their last 2 years before they actually graduate. So every time you're doing an assessment centre design or something like that, it needs to be designed around the job because it depends on what you're trying to assess for. In the past, I've done them for childcare grad program type things, childcare traineeship programs, and we were assessing how well do you work with children? Like obviously that's relevant to that. Not relevant for a construction job. So the traits that we kind of decided up front we were trying to screen for is teamwork. There is no such thing as you individually doing anything when you're working on a construction project. Every single thing that you do is delivered in a team. So teamwork is really key. You have to be able to learn quickly because cadets are really thrown in the deep end a lot and given something that they're not always going to be shown step by step exactly what to do before they're asked to do a task. Sometimes it'll be, hey, can you have a look at this? And you're not sure what to do. You need to kind of jump in, have a crack, and then ask some questions. Like that kind of willing to give it a go type thing, pick up information, read stuff for yourself, find resources. So there's a bit of smartness that they might need to have there, attention to detail, some confidence, but not being pushy or overconfident, more just like sure of yourself. Like you can't be like, oh, is it maybe, oh, possibly, like, but also not pushy and like, I know everything. Questions are really good, curiosity, and then maybe for some people, some future leadership traits, but not everyone's a future leader. And so not everyone needs to be, you can't hire a whole cohort of future leaders because like you can't all lead everything.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. So that's the context.
Interview Academy might be the perfect thing you're looking for. Interview Academy is a course Sarah has been working on after delivering hundreds of interview coaching sessions and getting incredible results.
But unfortunately, I'm only one gal living in an Aussie time zone who works a day job, and all of that mean I can't help everyone one-on-one, which drove me crazy.
So for over a year, Sarah's been working on turning all of those amazing lessons into an on-demand, step-by-step interview prep course. We hold your hand through the entire thing,
and you can do it at home in your own time and get instant access right now. Check it out at interviewboss.com.au/interview-academy. The link is in the show notes. So here's what we did. There were about 150 or something applications. We spoke to all these people over the phone, like 10-minute quick phone screen just to be like, are you eligible? Just some base information. Not everyone made it through, but kind of if they were mostly eligible and ticked all the things on the phone screen, pretty much everyone got through. So there were 60 people that went through, 3 different assessment centres. I think they were 2 hours each or something like that. And laugh out loud if you're actually coming to literally this assessment centre with me and you're listening to this episode, like, well done on finding it, honestly. You're going to have all the inside scoop.
Yeah, this is a cheat sheet.
Yeah, I won't do any spoilers, but you will have an idea of what's included. So when they come in, they get name tags. I know people hate this, but it's so necessary. Like there's a room of 20 people. You need to know people's names. It's necessary. We also take their photo when they introduce themselves because at the end, when you're like, oh, was that the one in the green T-shirt or was that the different? We need a photo to remember who you were. So we do that. There's an icebreaker at the beginning. Now, it's not a horrific, uncomfortable icebreaker. We just have these like cards that have like a strength written on them. And it might be like curiosity, leadership, teamwork, like all these different things. And there's just enough of them so that everyone can pick one and a few left over. So everybody has to pick up a strength card and introduce themselves, say which strength they picked, and then also what uni they're going to, all that kind of stuff. So nothing crazy. It's just, and the card is just something to just talk about rather than just saying who you are and whatever. And the goal of that is basically for the assessors in the room to like learn everyone's name. Everybody in the team learns everyone's name. We get to watch how people are listening, maybe how they talk in public a tiny little bit at the beginning. It's just a really nice, easy introduction to be like, oh, look, how many from this uni do we have? And just something to get started. Our assessors that we've got in the room all have clipboards, and they've got like a little printout with everybody's name on it and like a couple of rating questions and some spots to write notes. And they're all grouped in order of like where everyone's going to sit.
Very official. Clipboards.
Yeah, it's quite the operation. There's a lot of like color coding and name tagging and all this kind of stuff. And there's like typically I'm running the session, and then there'll be at least 3, if not more, assessors wandering around because you've got 20 people. Like you need a lot of eyeballs to see what everybody's doing. Like, and it's in a big open kind of boardroom. So we talk through the session, introduce the company, introduce the program itself, like a bit about, just info. Here's why it might be for you. Here's why it might not be for you, so that they're coming and they're getting a bit of information as well. We 1 year did like a sorting activity. This was a fun little one where they had to arrange themselves as a whole group in alphabetical order by their last name without talking.
Ooh. Everyone just would have looked like little minions walking, looking at people's chests, nodding and then shuffling along.
Well, their name tag doesn't say what their last name is. So how are they going to work out what each other's last name is? They had to be creative. So some of them like mouthed it or like gave like hand signals. So it was kind of interesting. It was fun for them. It got them out of their seat. It got them like a little bit energetic. But we scrapped that the following year because they were kind of really fast at it, actually. Like it wasn't that hard. And then by the time they were finished, I was like, oh, I didn't really make any notes because like one person started drawing it in the air and then everyone else drew it in the air and then they organized themselves. And maybe one person was standing in the complete wrong spot and they like didn't even try and put themselves in the right spot. Like their last name started with C and they just went and stood kind of halfway down the end. And you were like, what were you thinking? Why were you there? So occasionally that we made a note about that, but really it didn't add a lot of value to our overall, impressions of people.
Whoever, if anyone did like sign language, you should have hired them immediately.
Yeah, but then sign language only, like you need someone to actually understand the sign language. Like you can't just be signing.
Other than the other sheep that just drew it in the air. Like think outside the box, dance it out or something.
Anyway, we got rid of that. So we don't do that anymore. I just wanted to throw out there like the kind of thing that you might try. And then it's like, oh, what did we learn from that? Well, not really anything. So then there's a group activity. Now, this is my baby that I put time, energy, effort, like so much work into creating this thing. So they take on different roles and we're trying to get as close to the actual job as possible. So the idea was, okay, we're in a group of 4 and we kind of have to plan this out beforehand. But let's say I'm the project manager and you're the site manager and there's 2 others in our group and they have roles as well. We all get our secret information and I have some emails and you have some plans and someone else has something else. They're really simple. It doesn't require any kind of prior knowledge.
It's giving escape room.
I know, it kind of is. Or like a murder mystery kind of thing. If you've ever done anything like that, it's kind of that vibe I was going for. And you have a problem to solve together. Every group's doing the same problem, but you all have your own little bit of information and you can't just swap information. It's yours. You're the only one who has to analyze it and then you have to present it. And it kind of forces them that they have to work together. And it's designed in such a way that they will not get the answers to the questions they're trying to solve if they don't work together properly, because you have information that goes with my information to give us an insight. And it was really hard to put together and design because it had to be a realistic problem.
I was going to say that the thought of doing that, my brain has cobwebs in it just trying to think about that.
These are the things that I'm like the proudest of in my whole career, honestly. Like this activity, I need to like take the resources so that I can,
patent that shit.
Can share it one day or something. Yeah, because it's such a good activity and I think it's actually kind of fun. Our goal at the end as well was I wanted people to walk away from this, whether they got the job or not, to have learnt something and to actually have kind of enjoyed their experience, because at least they understand a bit more about what it's like to work in a construction team and what people go through. Anyway, it can be quite hard, but I'm walking around helping everyone. I'm not focusing on observing as much. I'm like facilitating the whole activity, giving people hints, asking questions. Hey, have you worked this bit out? Okay, you need to start over here. Have you looked at that? And giving them hints, making sure they're making progress. It's not meant to be too hard. And then everybody else is observing, watching, seeing everything else, taking notes, giving ratings. The groups then present back, here's what we found, here's the answers that we thought. We do a bit of a Q&A, and then we say, thank you, lovely to meet you, we'll be back in touch as of this date, and they all leave. Then all the assessors sit down, stay in the room, we go through each person, we bring their photo up, and then we discuss, hey, what did you think? What did you think? What did you think? What did everybody kind of say? Yeah, I agree, I saw this too. And you see so much. It is incredible. Like every time we have a new assessor that comes in and like they haven't been involved in the last year's one, and they're like, what's this? What do I have to do? Well, what am I looking for, Sarah? How am I going to know if someone's good? And you're like, I know that it feels really weird. And for our listeners, you're going to be like, well, what's the secret? What am I looking for? What's the answer? How do I be good at that kind of setup? You just know. You can just see.
You just exist. It's like if when the new person starts at work and you've had your mini conversation with them, then you've heard them making a cup of tea in the tea room, and then you've seen them handles, and you've only had like maybe 10 minutes of observing them, but you've already pieced together what kind of vibe they are, what they're like.
Yeah, exactly. And so we can see things like someone who immediately said, oh, you should take the notes, and gave it to the only girl in the team. And I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. Or you can see the one that's like talked so much but was wrong. Everything they said, wrong, but they were loud. And the rest of their team are kind of looking at them going, oh, I don't think that's right. And it's like, how are they going to battle them? Are they going to speak up? And so the team gets off track because of this confident wrong person. And then you see that someone else in the team kind of quietly steps up and is like, what about this thing over here? And they're the one that kind of gets everyone back on track. Or the person that goes, hey, what have you got? And they turn to the one next to them who's a bit quiet and they ask them to get involved. Then you've got the really smart one who kind of works something out that nobody else saw. And it's like the little trick that I planted in there and they've picked up on it straight away. You see so much. It's incredible. Like their attitude, their energy, they're straight in, they're asking questions, they're asking for help. You can see the attitudes so well. Anyway, we'll refer back to this as we give some tips. But what are our tips, Em?
Well, number one, make sure you turn up. Don't get spooked. And don't be disheartened. Despite what I said earlier, it's not the Hunger Games where you have to, outplay them, do better than them, hope for their demise so that you succeed.
I said Survivor, where you have to outwit, outplay, outlast. It's not Survivor. It's not like that at all. I'll get to this at the end, but it's not like that. It's not this cutthroat kind of thing where you have to stand out. And I think if you're thinking in your head, how do I stand out? How do I stand out? It's the wrong question to be asking yourself. Don't be disheartened by the group nature. These things are done when there are multiple jobs. The person next to you that you're in the same group as, you might both get hired. That is absolutely a possibility.
Yeah, this was a misconception of mine, as heard earlier in the episode.
as from 2 minutes ago. And I think in the last episode we did about group interviews, I said you might have 20% of people that don't show up. That's less likely for these grad program kind of processes. People do generally show up, but don't be disheartened and make sure you do show up.
And treat it like a regular interview. So still prepare, because you never know, one of the sort of group or components of it could be an interview question, could it not? Like, you never know.
Exactly. Yep, that's right. Yep, you don't know what's included.
Yeah, so prepare, turn up on time, research the location, who might be interviewing you, all of those normal things. Do that. Wear a great outfit.
All the regular advice, like be early but not too early, all of that normal stuff, it still applies. It's just like an interview in that sense.
It's also not what you do, but it's how you do it.
Yeah, right. So let's say the example I gave of the one that I've run where they have to come up with the answer to this problem or whatever. There is kind of like a right answer, I guess, or a series of right answers. If their team completely misses the right answer, it doesn't mean that we're not hiring them. That's kind of irrelevant. You can have a terrible team and get everything wrong, and we still want to hire you because we saw good behaviours and you had good ideas and you suggested stuff and you communicated and whatever.
I'm back with the analogy, but I don't know if this is the same across the world, but in senior maths in high school, you got points if you got the answer wrong, but your working out was right. Like you showed the right steps to get there, but you got it wrong because they want to see your thought process and that it's logical and.
And I think it goes back to they're not testing your knowledge here typically, because then they would just give you a test or something.
And you're green. They don't expect you to know anything about the industry. You know nothing.
You're not meant to understand what you're talking about. Like ours is designed that there's actually no prior knowledge required. All the answers are kind of there. But sometimes people do have prior knowledge, but we're not judging you based on the language you use or use the wrong word for something, all that sort of stuff.
Also, listen to others. Don't be super outspoken, shooting down other people's ideas or thinking that you need to one-up, your teammates or compete, because this will come off you'll be that overconfident person that they're like, ooh, didn't, support others well.
And if you're trying to get like airtime, I want to talk. It's not about who talks the most. I promise you it's not about who talks the most. So don't be terrified about that. You don't want to be the person who literally says no words, obviously, but you don't need to be competing and trying to stand out. See if you can remember a couple of names, particularly in your group, but maybe even like the name of someone in another group, and reference back to like, oh, as this person was saying earlier, we had a similar thing. And when other people are introducing themselves, listen, look at them, pay attention. These are kind of small things.
I'm so bad for saying, oh, and and then forgetting to listen. And then 3 seconds later, I'm like, oh, what did they say? What's this person's name that I'm now deep in conversation with?
Not the end of the world, but if you were still just actively listening and like looking at them and like,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, like that's still a good sign.
Remember, everything is part of the interview. This is a whole analysing experience from the moment you walk in to the moment you leave. So during breaks, if they're giving you a little recess, before the interview, be mindful of where you are and how you're interacting. You never know who's watching. You could be standing next to the person that's going to be doing it and you're like, oh God, how long is this going to take? Or,
We had someone who met them all downstairs, like in the lobby of the building, so they could take them up the lift because you need access to come up to our level. And that person, we'd be like, you better be making notes. Like, are they interacting with each other? Are they chatty? Are they quiet? Are they whatever? Like, just, it's all relevant information. It might not be the reason they do or don't get the role, but when you add that up with how they performed in the thing, it might paint a picture of who they are. Oh, yeah, well, they were really overpowering in the group. And then also downstairs, they were asking everyone, where are you going to uni? Where are you? How far are you in your degree? And like they were quizzing everyone. It's like that all together helps us form a picture of who that person is, So they're always watching.
Make conversation. You probably have so much in common with the people next to you and they're probably just as nervous as you are. Make some friends. If you don't get anything out of this, you might get a new bestie that's in the same study buddy, same part of your career.
It'll help you both relax as well. Like we do all these bits where it's like, oh, we're just waiting for more people to come in. Like it's not starting yet. Chit chat. Like it's okay to chat and it'll help you relax. We want you to get to know each other. Remember, we're hiring people to work together and we're probably hiring a cohort. So we're thinking about how are you going to get along with your fellow grads and thinking about the group dynamics absolutely as well. There's an example I have of we've had a couple of people come through and they just have this air of like they don't really care. They don't really want to be there. Their attitude isn't right. Maybe they're really smart and they do quite well when it comes down to it and they present really well, but the rest of the time they're leaned back in their chair. They're just giving off this air of I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm not taking this too seriously. And sometimes it's coupled with like, oh, they've got a friend in the business or a family member or whatever. And it's like they just think this is a formality. They haven't come to impress at all.
They think they're a shoo-in.
Yeah, no good. And like particularly if you add that with they didn't listen to other people in their group or they just, or they also dressed a little bit under what they should have, all those things together. No, we've got people who desperately want to be here. We're going to move on.
For sure. Now, cliche advice, be yourself. Every new assessor or junior HR person comes in thinking, how on earth is this thing going to show me who we should hire, as we just said before? But it's so clear when you see it. And Sarah, you've hired plenty of people that you wouldn't have really considered otherwise, not the textbook people.
Well, this is the thing. Everyone who's gone through this process, I designed it having come from like doing this kind of stuff before, and I know how well these things work. Everyone else doesn't have as much faith, and they come in being like, how on earth is this convoluted 3-step process going to find us these best people? Like, what's so special about it? And they go through the process and they go, oh my gosh, when this person walked in, I thought they were a shoo-in and I thought that person was really quiet and a little bit odd. And then as soon as we get them in that group environment, actually that person that was a bit odd was really smart. They pointed out details. They took some good notes. They presented really well, and the confident one talked over people and was like leading their team in the wrong direction. You just see stuff that you wouldn't expect. And sometimes even the people who didn't perform that well over the phone or in a one-on-one interview, you see their real strengths shine in the assessment centre. It is incredible. We can see the contribution people are making, even if they probably feel like, oh, I didn't do that much. And it favours the more quiet, thoughtful person who actually has the skills to back it up, not the one who's all talk and can't deliver.
Which is surprising, because I think this is a big misconception that you think, oh my God, there's so many people there. How am I going to get any attention? I'm going to fly under the radar. And that if you're naturally more quiet or introverted, that you just won't get seen.
They see everything. The stuff that we have notes on, it's honestly, it's wild. It's like, oh, well, I heard them say this. I heard them say, oh, but hold on, wait, wasn't there something about that in these notes there? Do you have that over there? What were you saying before? Oh, yeah. And it's like, oh, that we saw that person catch that little detail and go back to it and bring the group back to it. Or, you know, they had to challenge this person to contribute because they were really hanging back. Like, we just see these little moments that tell us a lot about someone's character and their behaviour. So I want this to be a good, like, that's why we do it. The hires that we have gotten from going through these processes are better than we ever could have gotten with a traditional interview. It's awesome. It's so good. I wish they were more of a thing for just general interviewing, but you can't, because who's going to go through a group interview for a regular job? Like, you just wouldn't put up with that. And also you have other stuff to go on, so you don't need to. But anyway, I'm a fan, in case you can't tell.
Yes. But to sum it up, you can't really prepare, but some helpful things to think about. Be well rested. Try and do some things to manage your nerves going in. We have episodes for that. We have a listen to this right before you go in episode, which is perfect. You want to bring the right energy, you know? You want to be enthusiastic, feeling good, in your zone.
And not like terrified and like
frazzled, running late, overthinking. And prep a bit of an intro if you can. Who you are, your degree, you know, where you're studying, a bit about yourself outside of work, your experience, maybe a fun fact. That will help, because there's going to be some element of intro, get to know. There just will be.
Yes, I think so. And you might want to have like a full tell me about yourself ready, but you also might want to have just a couple of these little handy facts and things thought about. Like if they say, tell us a bit about you outside of work, what are you going to say? Like, you don't want to be scrambling for something on the spot. You want to have like, oh, I have seen 50 movies in the last whatever. Like, you just want to think of something in advance so that you've got that up your sleeve in case you need it. A fun fact, everybody rolls their eyes, but like, fun facts are fun. It's better than having to do like a full intro.
Tell me, what's your fun fact? What's your go-to?
I don't know. It would depend on the vibe, I think. But it might be, fun fact, I'm a celiac.
That's not fun.
It's not very fun.
I can't eat bread, which is the most devastating thing to have ever happened to anyone. That's a sad fact.
What would your fun fact be? No, my fun fact would be I have a podcast, obviously.
Oh, yeah. I haven't had to do this in a while. I remember one time at uni, I was just in the worst mood and was so over all this shit. And it was probably the fifth tutor of the day was like, we're going to do a fun fact. Turn to the person next to you and say what your fun fact is. And I just dead ass looked the person next to me in the eye and said, hi, I'm Emma, and I have no fun fact. There's nothing, I have nothing fun to say about myself.
I'm not a fun person.
No, I'm not fun. Whatever. There's nothing interesting about me. And then when it came time to share and we had to do the other person, he was like, and this is Emma, and she says she doesn't have there's nothing interesting about her, but I really doubt it. She seems really nice. And I was like, oh, that's sweet.
He was trying really hard. So I was a tutor for like first year psych students when I was in my honours year, I think maybe. And I used to do an icebreaker every single tutorial, and it really helped my class get to know each other. But I have suffered from the paralysis that you get when you say a fun fact. And so I refused to do it that way. And so I came with a direct question every time. And I'd be like, okay. And I also think the pressure of like your favourite whatever is like, it's a lot of pressure. What do you mean I have to pick my favourite song or my favorite movie? I don't know. I don't rank them all the time. So I would do things like, okay, today remind everyone of your name, and I'm like marking the role, so it's like a practical thing. And also tell us what was the last movie you saw, just the last one. Or like, oh, what's a TV series you're watching right now? It's not like your favorite one. It's just, what are you watching right now? Or where's the last place you traveled? Like, it's just like a recent fact. It's not.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to approach. So if you have to be the one who's leading a group, I suggest that you do one of those instead of a fun fact. It's just that unfortunately it is popular, and if you come prepared with a fun fact, you're just less likely to get caught off guard. So prep one.
There you go. There is some myth busting about assessment centres. Turns out it's not the Hunger Games. And yeah, there's some helpful tips. Really great that Sarah has the experience in running these, so you can get some ideas on what maybe your assessment centre might be like, but also, yeah, some hot tips, what to consider. Be yourself, don't overthink it, and don't switch off until you're back in your car and leaving.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much for listening to Interview Boss. If you like hearing our Aussie accents, follow us in Apple or Spotify, or better yet, tell someone else about the show, just like the incredible friend we heard about who told Sophie all about our podcast over a couple of drinks. That's how we can hit the charts and we can help even more people. For some behind the scenes and some fun, shareable, savable facts, check us out on Instagram at Interview Boss.
We've been your job search besties and helped you in some way. There's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
We get a huge kick out of reading all of your success stories. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss and shout us a cuppa.
If you keep us caffeinated, we can keep the content coming.